What's going on, everyone? My name is Brandon Blankenship, and I'm a real estate agent here in the Chicagoland area. And I have a special video today. I have my friends here, Anyssa and Pat of Neighborsgrid, and we're going to kind of talk about real estate investing. I think this is a fantastic topic, especially being in COVID. You know, a lot of us millennials are researching this, and whatever social media platform you're watching this on, in the description, I'll drop down timestamps below. So whenever you're finished with this video, you can click on any favorite part that you have Pat and Anyssa talking about. But without further ado, you guys want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Patrick. We are just and Anyssa.
Anyssa, hello.
We are just part-time real estate investors. We just purchased our first rental property that we were house hacking. I'm also a full-time teacher. And then Anyssa, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Anyssa. Hello, everyone. Like he said, part-time real estate investors, and we are Neighborsgrid.
Yeah, so we actually made our own course as well, where we help mentor and people, like mostly millennials, when it comes to our coaching program for money. So we just started that as well. So yeah.
Cool. So what inspired this journey? Because I know a lot of people end up reading one book that changed their life, watches one YouTube video, or just has that one conversation. So what kind of did for you guys to, get into this real estate investment journey?
So in terms of what really got us into it was actually a book called The Latte Factor. So once we graduated from college, we had all of this income that was, kind of like a really nice way of saying it. Like we had a lot of income coming in that we didn't necessarily have when it came to college. Like we worked full-time jobs, but they're all part-time jobs.
Right.
So once we got these full-time positions, we had this steady income. And honestly, we thought that we were the richest people in the world, quote unquote. So we were making a lot of financial decisions that probably weren't the smartest for our first year. Mm-hmm. And we kind of realized that with the amount of student debt that we had, that we should probably, be a little bit more financially literate. And so the book that really got us thinking about it was The Latte Factor by David Bach. And so once we figured out that, even though we're not making six figures right away out of college, we can still make a decent living and live comfortably while paying off our debt, making all these financial decisions are pretty smart.
Right.
And so that's what got us into real estate as well.
Right. That makes sense. Anything from you, Anyssa?
Yeah, I would say the first thing, again, like you said, Latte Factor was one of the books that I read, but also The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. I think just listening to David Bach on YouTube and just reading his books and kind of educating myself on financial literacy was something that kind of changed my whole mindset and really shifted how I was kind of handling my money at the time.
Right.
And so I was living a very lifestyle inflation, for an example.
Right.
I worked in retail, so that was something that was also very hard for me because I was kind of constantly it was luxury retail too. So I'm constantly surrounded by all of that, money, for an example. So so that was really difficult, but I think just reading the books and kind of educating myself on financial literacy was definitely just that mind shift that needed to happen.
Right, for sure. So were you guys big spenders in terms of not just clothes, but were you guys going out for food all the time, splurging yourself on random things?
Yeah, something that we thought about too was, once we get our own personal finances straightened and our mindset straightened, that's when we got into real estate and investing and just trying to have our money work for us.
Right.
And so once we figured out hey, our lifestyle inflation is really bad at the moment. We were buying clothes, we bought new cars coming out of college, and still we had all this, student loan debt that we wanted to, at the time didn't want to pay off fully, but now we kind of switch our mindset towards that too.
Right.
But yeah, definitely something that we caught before it got worse. And we're really happy that we went through all of these mistakes early on in our lives. And we're really grateful for the support between our two parents. Right now we're living at home. We have all of this support. And so, making the mistakes early is definitely a learning experience.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's you guys kind of jump into the journey. A lot of people I feel always talk about what they're gonna do and what they keep saying they're gonna do, but it doesn't mean anything until you jump in and try it, because at the end of the day, it's always the first time that it's probably going to be the hardest for you. But then once you go through it the first time, you're going to learn from all the mistakes that you made, and you can keep improving from your next one and the next one over and over again. But I know you guys bought your first property. So what were kind of the key characteristics? Because I know you guys are pretty driven when it comes to doing your own research and due diligence. What were the main things you guys were looking for when purchasing your first rental property?
Yeah, so like for our investment strategy right now, like I just mentioned, we want a house hack for our first few.
Right.
Our goal is to have 10 properties by the age of 30.
Okay.
Just because our minimum cash flow from each door would be around 150. So
Right.
This is for a multifamily.
yeah, for
Okay.
a multifamily homes. We're not doing single families at the moment.
Okay.
So with that said, I guess like the biggest requirement is obviously the numbers. No matter what, we truly believe that the numbers talk. These are
Right.
just, house hacks, so they're not going to be our dream homes by any means.
Right.
So definitely numbers driven. We try to not have any or little to no emotional attachment. So definitely that. So in terms of the numbers though, we look for a 12% cash on cash return, or like about $150 per unit.
Okay.
So the reason why we do 12% cash on cash return is because that doubles the stock market's average.
Okay.
So right now it's around 6 to 7%. So by having 12%, obviously, without even appreciation, tax advantages, or the what's the other one that I'm thinking about? There's
Loan
another-
down.
Loan down payment. Thank
Yeah.
you. The other benefits of owning rentals, that cash flow is
Right.
going to be giving us
Mhm.
12%. So
Right. So why did you guys end up going the multifamily route and not kind of like the single family home route? Is there a specific reason for that, or?
you want to talk about that?
I just think with the value that multifamilies bring, I mean, 2 doors versus 1 door,
Right.
and plus the purchase price. I mean, what we've been seeing in our market is if we go up like $100,000 more,
Right.
we can get 2 doors. And another benefit of real estate is loan pay downs. So a lot of the times our tenants will be paying down the mortgage, which is just a plus side. So
Mhm.
it just kind of makes sense within that realm of purchasing multifamilies versus single family.
Right.
Yeah, especially if we want to house hack it, our
Mhm.
comfortability level, especially if we rent out to strangers.
Right.
For us at least, even though we don't have a family, it's just us two.
Right.
We do want to have separate units rather than living in the same space as our renters,
Mhm.
since we are going to house hack it. And then another thing, again, towards the numbers, if you have a multifamily and vacancy is definitely something that you have to take into consideration.
Right.
So
Mhm.
if you have a single family home and it's vacant, then you have no income coming in. But if
Right.
you have like a multifamily, 2 to 4 units, a small multifamily, then that one vacancy for one unit isn't going to be hurting your cash flow as much if
Mhm.
you were to have a single family. So that's
Yep.
something
Right.
to look at too.
Right. No, that makes sense. And kind of to play off that, was it kind of hard to like find tenants for it?
No, surprisingly,
No.
when we did our marketing, Anyssa does a really good job. I don't necessarily put everything on social media. She's the one brains for that.
Right.
So in terms of that though, we got the unit rented out pretty quickly. It took us about 2 weeks after a couple of showings.
Yeah, so
right?
we inherited tenants when we first purchased our property.
Yeah.
So we had one tenant in right now that we've inherited, and then once we finished up renovations in the other unit, we just went with the Facebook Marketplace route and just kind of made it easy. We first did it on Facebook Marketplace, and then we did Craigslist, and then we saw that we were getting a lot of inquiries. I think we had over 50 inquiries on our unit that we renovated, which was mind blowing, but also made screening a lot easier too, because screening on Facebook is like our hard screening. That's kind of like what we do.
Right.
That's part of the process. But yeah, that made it really easy. And I think we'll kind of go into the screening process later on too.
Cool. And besides numbers, when you guys are looking for like a rental property like this, are you guys kind of looking for something where you guys can fix up, or is it more like just like all ready to go? You guys find your tenants and you guys go from there.
Good question.
Yeah. So like in terms of, at least for me, something that was really big for us jumping into real estate was that honestly, we did not know how to swing a hammer. We don't know anything about rehabbing. Like I'm a teacher. She works in the fashion industry at the moment. Like these are all things that are new to us when it comes to real estate investing.
Right.
Like, we love the numbers side of it,
Right.
but the rehab was something that was really scary. So something that we looked at when it came to searching for properties was something that's not terribly in condition to begin with. So we try to avoid those really big rehabs that are going to be, $30,000,
Right.
$40,000,
Yeah.
basically a flip,
Right.
gut rehab. So, with this first rental, we saw a lot of potential. It was a lot of cosmetic maintenance that we had to switch up. So like the flooring is something that we learned how to do, which we're really proud about. We learned how to paint properly. We learned how to switch light fixtures, install cabinets, all of these things that we can basically learn ourselves and get help from, our family.
Right.
Was something that we looked into when it came to buying this rental.
Yeah, so
Right.
definitely staying away from plumbing issues, electrical work, like all of that big ticket expenses, and just kind of working with cosmetic wise and what we can do interior.
Right.
I think one day we'll get to that point, but at the moment, especially with our full-time jobs, I just feel like these cosmetic rehabs is more of our cup of tea, I guess, at this point.
Right.
And honestly, the numbers worked again. So like we spent around 10 grand total for this rehab, which was again in our numbers that worked. And we did everything in terms of cash. So we paid everything. All the whole 25,000 was cash.
Yeah.
So
was that your guys' like budget, like going into this, like purchasing your first rental? Were you guys like, okay, we're spending $25K, rehab, everything? Okay, so you guys are really numbers and data driven. Okay, that's awesome.
Literally, I don't know how I did it, but like when I ran all the numbers when we went into this project, I put in 25 grand, and when we got out of it, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we looked at, did all of our expenses, and we kind of tracked everything. It was like 24 or 25 grand total. So it was like almost to the T.
Yeah,
so which I'm really happy about.
And we use a real estate dashboard that Pat actually created. So the dashboard contains all of our expenses for the renovation. It has our budget. It has our financial summary when tenants are living in there, and then also the real estate calculator for analyzing properties.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So how about this too? Like, I know a lot of my friends always ask me, and this is kind of like a personal question that I want to ask too, but when it comes to real estate investing, what do you think are like, who do you need on your team? Like, whether it be obviously a realtor, all that stuff, like, but are there other things like contractors? Like, who's on your guys' team that, that you attribute to making you guys successful in this first rental property?
For sure. So, I guess going into it, after doing like a lot of the research, obviously like a realtor is really nice to have on your team, especially for us, because our realtor, she's actually part of Keller Williams too.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's great. Her name's Amy Wu.
Okay.
She's really well versed in the investing clientele because she works with other investors, and so that's something that we look for is that whoever is on our team, do they have an investing mindset?
Right.
Something that is hard to think about and kind of detach yourself is that emotional part to the investing and buying these things. And so again, going back to the numbers, it's not anything that you're going to live in for 5+ years. You just want to look at it as seeing, is it going to be well maintained, like in terms of the mindset. So our realtor was really investor friendly. Our loan officer or our lender was really awesome, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of recommendations.
He also has an investing mindset as well.
Awesome.
So he helps us with our strategies. We'll send him our analysis as well, and he'll be like, nope, this doesn't work, like this is not a good one. So it's really great to have that kind of like another set of eyes, even though there's 2 of us, but also having another set of eyes on the outside just to say like, hey, this is a no-go. So I think that's a huge asset to our team as well, having a lender with an investing mindset. And then also we finally found a really good contractor from Pat's mom, so that worked out. So now he's our maintenance guy, and so anytime that maintenance comes up, like he's our go-to guy, which is really nice because we're able to kind of tell him like, hey, like this is not your only project, like we're going to keep sending you projects, we'll keep sending you things. You're going to stay busy throughout the year. So I think that's like what excites him to kind of be on our team as well.
Yeah. So we have our realtor, we have our lender. We also have our attorney.
Nice.
They're all from references too. So a lot of our, like basically our whole team is from references and people have experience working with them. We did interview a bunch of attorneys, lenders, and even realtors to see who we wanted to work with. And so, it wasn't just like, hey, first decision. It was more so like an interview process, and we definitely shopped around for basically our whole team. We have our maintenance people, kind of like what Anissa said, like our contractor or handyman, and then we also have an electrician and then a plumber as well. So
yeah, I think that's super beneficial in just having like a strong vendor list and a support team behind you. Because at the end of the day, I feel like life is kind of like all about leverage. So like, you want to be working on the things that you're good at and kind of like delegating all the other tasks to the people, that handle it. And I think you guys do a great job in doing your due diligence when it comes to looking for a realtor, a lender, attorney, and all that. So I think that's super awesome. But
Yeah.
piggybacking off all this, getting your guys' first rental property as well. Were there any mistakes that you guys made that you wish you can go back to day one and be like, okay, Pat, don't do that. Anyssa, don't do that.
So in terms of mistakes, it went really smooth. I think something that we learned along the way was, when we inherited those tenants, like what did that come with it?
Right.
Because we did have to vacate one of the tenants that we inherited. So actually we inherited two different tenants.
Okay.
One of the tenants we decided to keep, one of the tenants that we decided to not keep because we wanted to house hack that.
Right.
And so, I wish that we told them a little bit earlier that we were going to vacate. We still gave them the proper notice of 1.5 months.
Right.
Technically it's only 30 days, but we let them stay there for a while. But if we were to inherit and vacate tenants, I just wish we did it a little bit earlier, just because, personally, I felt really bad, knowing that we were basically just telling them, hey, we're buying the property and you got to leave because we want to fix it up. So that was something that I kind of learned along the way was, can we give them a further notice, even though technically, legally, we were fine.
Right.
Can you say something?
Yeah, in the end though, that kind of worked again with the numbers, because the mortgage usually doesn't kick in for 2 months until after you close on the property. So we were, while inheriting tenants, we were kind of able to inherit that rent as well, which kind of helped in terms of vacancy wise, since we were vacant for about, would you say a month?
Yeah, we were vacant for about the top unit was vacant for a month. So what happened was, once we inherited them, because they stayed with us for about 1.5 months, they actually paid us rent that we weren't expecting. So that definitely helped our numbers.
Yeah.
And that's a really great benefit when it comes to inheriting tenants. So for people who are looking into real estate, and this is something that we didn't know, we actually want to inherit tenants. One, because the property is already livable. And then two, you don't have to look for people. They're already renting it out at maybe not market value, but the biggest cost when it comes to this business is vacancy. And so if you can inherit tenants right away, then go ahead and do that. As long as you do it properly, right? You give them a notice, you let them know that there's a change of ownership, and you kind of tell them that your system is going to be in place now, and you kind of have that lease agreement ready. Another big thing that we kind of learned from, and this is probably one of the biggest lessons, was the rehab. Kind of going back to that we doesn't necessarily know everything about rehabbing. The time frame was a little bit off for us, and I bet like once we get into the second, the third, or as we build our portfolio, our process when it comes to the rehabbing is going to be a lot better. We're kind of going back and forth between rooms, and what do we do first in terms of a timeline? And so it was a little bit messy on that end in terms of like operations and priorities. But at the end of the day, it's like we're learning along the way, and that's something that we'll probably refine going into the second one.
Yeah.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Seems like you guys hit a home run on this one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we're really happy. Again, like, I don't think it's all going to be like this. We don't expect it. And it wasn't like all roses and all that kind of stuff. But,
and we were learning on like what we can handle too in terms of renovations. It's like, like what can we do? Like rip carpet for sure, put in flooring for sure. But like when it came to like the big stuff, like gosh, what were some of the things
like windows? We needed help with the cabinets because it was, between us two, we just couldn't necessarily put everything together ourselves, and countertop in the sink. Definitely the windows. We had to hire that out. We had to put new carpeting in the stair. I don't know, a bunch of like little stuff that we didn't necessarily want to do wrong.
But also didn't really have the patience for, we learned.
So as we were rehabbing, we were kind of figuring out like what do we like to do and what do we want to hire out? Like, so we like to do flooring, we like to paint, we like to, change a lot, like all these like small things that actually do add up. But some things that we probably are gonna hire out the next time around are like the windows, the cabinets.
So at least we know that now.
So again, kind of deciding what we like and don't like.
Yeah.
Right. No, that makes sense for sure. And then how about this? So I know like interest rates are historically low right now, and a lot of millennial home buyers are jumping into the market. So for anyone out there that is like looking into this real estate investing journey rather than purchasing their own home to live in first, what do you think are 3 resources that someone right now to this day can start, getting into to make them more educated when it comes to this real estate investing journey?
Yeah, definitely. One things first is like, don't just jump into real estate because it's like quote unquote sexy. So something that we want to talk about first is like, if you have your own personal finances out of the way, then you could start jumping into real estate. So understanding yourself and understanding your own numbers is definitely key. We didn't just jump into it just because we wanted to, is because I honestly thought we were ready. So educating yourself first through like books is something that we definitely looked into during all of quarantine. So 2 big books was Bigger Pockets. It was like the managing rentals, and then the investing. I forgot what the actual book is called.
Yeah.
It was like a blue and yellow book. It was like our Bibles throughout quarantine. So that was that. Something else that we do is we just network, something like you do, right? We love to just talk to people on a daily basis, and that's something that we continually do. It's like if you have the ball rolling and you're always having those conversations with people, whether it's formally like right now, or if it's just informal and you're just talking to a neighbor, just honestly just networking every single day and just learning from others is huge.
So we searched for Facebook groups that were in our area. So that's how we were able to kind of connect with other investors near us. And of course we got into it during the pandemic, so we weren't able to actually go to like meetups and stuff like that. But I know some groups are still having meetups over Zoom, so you can always join that. And then another thing is podcasts. I personally love listening to conversations. I think just hearing other people's success stories and like, these are just like your average people. Like when I think of real estate investing, before I would think like, oh, these are people that are, huge, like with huge net worths and stuff like that, that can actually afford it. But it's like, no, anybody can afford it, that when you put your mind to it. So I think just hearing like success stories from those certain people will really motivate you.
Yeah. Podcasts are huge. Like, if you're commuting or anything like that, there's so many different podcasts that you can listen to. Again, our favorite one's Bigger Pockets. So, and then Real Estate Rookies, it's also Bigger Pockets, just another branch of those. So
I've heard Bigger Pockets is pretty incredible when it comes to that. I need to listen to it more. But no, everyone that I asked, especially like my aunt and uncle that are getting into this as well, like into flips, they said Bigger Pockets just blows them away.
Yeah. And it's just really cool, like Anyssa said, is that it's your everyday people. They're not multimillionaires who's investing in it, and they don't need that much capital to do your own portfolio. So yeah.
And I think that's what the beauty about this, like when it comes to real estate investing, and like especially with these like huge moguls that like have like so many doors, they start at one. And I think that's the biggest thing for like people that are getting into this journey, and not even real estate, but anything in general, is just like you just got to take that first step. It really is that first step, and you can't like compare yourself to others. And I think what you guys do in terms of networking in the Facebook groups, I think surrounding yourself with people that enjoy doing what you guys want to get into, and people that have already been there. I think that's like those are the biggest things for sure when it comes to this journey. But I know besides real estate investing, you guys are big when it comes to saving money. So talk about that. I know that you guys initially in this video, we were talking about how you guys were spending a lot of money, had liabilities in cars, but talk about your guys' money journey, because I've been watching you guys with this whole thing, and your transparency is absolutely incredible. So yeah, just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. You want to start first?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Well, for me personally, because we try to separate our finances between us two. Yeah, obviously we're a team though. So for me, I always looked at my money as, I want to have the next new thing, or I want to have the nicest clothes. And you could still have those stuff, but prioritizing what is more important to you. So as I, matured more, I guess, in my financial journey, I figured out that I truly want to build real wealth. And what that meant to me was not the materialistic things. It was more so like that generational wealth that I could pass on to my kids and their grandkids.
Right.
And so I definitely had to get out of debt. I don't have like a massive amount of debt right now. I'm around like maybe like 25, 26 last time I thought. So that's not terrible, but it's not the best. And so looking into that further, you know, that's why I wanted to start paying down my debt, but also start to invest as well. So that was like a decision for me was, do I pay down this debt and pause my investing journey? Just because looking at my debt, it wasn't the highest interest rates. They're not like credit card debt. There's more so just my car loan and then my student loans. So I just started to invest both in real estate and also pay down my debt at the same time. So that's kind of like my journey. So
yeah. And then just piggybacking off of him, it's like, I think with saving money, that comes with, you know, having that financial literacy and the knowledge as well. But I think just kind of what got me into it and really that mind shift was like what he said, generational wealth. I really, my parents are refugees from Laos, actually. So we're first generation here. And, you know, investing is actually not something that we talk about in my family. It's actually kind of like
taboo.
It's almost like, you know, Anyssa, it's too risky. Like, gosh, like, what are you doing? Like, just, you know, just save it, whatever. And, you know, I grew up with that. And so that's just kind of something that it was a limiting belief that I really wanted to break for myself. But it's also, I think that's kind of why we started Neighborsgrid as well, is because it's a limiting belief that we want to break for everybody, especially our community, especially the Lao community. And so I think that's been helping because it's just been like, we get a lot of DMs from people saying that it's been inspiring them and now they're looking into real estate, and it just warms our hearts because this is exactly why we started Neighborsgrid in the first place. But I think, yeah, just like saving money, it's just prioritizing what's more important in your life right now. And obviously having the nicest car and having the nicest clothes was just not something I really had to take a step back and was like, okay, this is not something that I want right now. And just graduating college, I really felt like, oh, I'm in my 20s. Like, this is the time for me to just have the best life. And then once I'm 30, like, that's probably when I'm gonna settle down, have kids, my life's gonna be over. And I think that's the limiting belief that a lot of people have, which is the reason why they don't save money right now. They always think that, oh, it's money, will manage itself, or they can save that money later on when they make more money. But it's like, no, we need to take a step back and say, we need to start now. Our 20s is the time to grind. It's the time to work hard so that we can just coast later. And that's really what we teach in our program. And that's really what we're trying to preach through Neighborsgrid.
100%.
And having those like money conversations too and making it a norm was something really powerful when we started Neighborsgrid. Everybody in their minds are kind of thinking about money in terms of like safety nets, not only just for fun, but it's like everybody wants to have money and be able to handle their money in a proper way. And so by creating Neighborsgrid, it kind of created this community of like millennials just coming right out of college to have these money conversations that weren't necessarily like a norm. So it was really cool. We love it. Something that we also figured out was once we started, you know, controlling our income and expenses and, you know, having our personal finances aligned, it was almost gamified, where now money is fun, right? It's not something that's like a liability. It's not like an issue. It's not scary. We want to learn more. And it just really like opened our eyes of kind of like accountability when it comes to our money. And it's fun now. We love it.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think just like from watching you guys, like your journey to start, like it definitely made me more conscious of like what's like coming out of my bank account. And, you know, I really just try to like, personally for me, I don't know if you guys would Neighborsgrid approve this, but I kind of just like, you know, I would just ask myself, like, okay, like, do I really need this? And I think just like asking myself that question, like deep down, because I feel like I have more clothes than I need. And like in reality, I honestly only really wear like plain hoodies from H&M. And I really only dress up when I go out to like meetings or clients. And it's like, I'm like, okay, I don't really need like all these clothes. So what I'm trying to say is like, okay, so like let's say someone is watching this right now and they really want to, you know, dial down on their finances. Like, what 3 tips can you give someone when it comes to like saving money into like, just for themselves, or just become better and more conscious about what they're spending?
Yeah. So, I mean, my biggest tip, and this is something that probably you and I could resonate with, like if you love something, if you love clothes, then you should be able to buy those things,
Just
right?
about to say that.
Yeah. So sorry. But like something that we have a passion for is fashion, and we don't want to limit that passion. We just want to make sure that we're prioritizing things.
Right.
So once you have your priorities straight, and what I mean by priorities is, what's your fixed expenses? Are you able to map those out and make sure those things are getting taken care of before you spend your money?
Do you know your fixed expenses, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where your student debt is? Do you know where, your cards are being swiped at? Like making sure that you're having all of those, I like to call it facts, and your A, like making sure you have all of that A so that you're able to kind of like hone down and identify those priorities.
Yeah.
Right.
So something that we teach in our program is we want to make sure our clients are spending their money guilt-free.
Yeah.
So the reason why people think about, their money, it's like, gosh, I just went out to eat, but now I don't have money to pay off my full credit card. So it's like, what are your priorities when you go out, and do you know how much you can really spend?
Yeah.
So that's something that we want to teach is like, you can spend your money as long as you are prioritizing. So that's our number one tip. I guess our second tip is, do you really know where your fixed expenses are? And do you know how much your reoccurring income is? So being able to track your money, even if it's on a sheet of paper, we have a dashboard that we sell separately, but it tracks everything when it comes to our money in and out, and what we save and what we invest.
Right.
So even if you do it on like a sheet of paper, that's still better than nothing. So that's probably our second tip.
That's how we started, on paper.
Yeah, exactly. During quarantine, we were literally just in Anissa's backyard, and we were like, gosh, all right, well, let's start with this.
What's our income?
What
are our expenses?
We make this much. How much are we spending this month?
What's our fund money?
Yeah. It was like negative. Our fund money was negative, obviously, because we were spending way too much. And so we were like, all right, we got to dial down on it. Like, it's a really simple add and subtract game.
Yeah.
But it does take time, and it takes discipline.
Yeah.
And then our third tip is making everything automatic, I guess. Because, as humans, we are terrible at discipline.
Yeah.
Right.
We always want to do the thing that's probably not the best interest because it's more fun, but it's probably not the best decision because it's not as fun, right? You want to spend your money. So making things automatic right off the bat is going to take away that disciplinary action.
Right.
And you're going to be able to just see, your money get put away automatically.
Right.
So.
Right. No, that makes sense for sure. Yeah, I think I think like the scariest thing for me, like when I'm tracking my finances, and like how you guys said, write it down on a piece of paper, like I don't want to see it. Like I hate paying my credit card because I hate to see how much, that I actually spent in the month. But, I think it is beneficial because if I feel like if I'm more self-conscious of like what I'm spending, and I'm always looking in and writing it down, I'm just like, okay, I need to stop here because this is where I capped out.
Yeah.
But I really thank you guys for coming on and talking. Where can they find you? Where can they find you on Instagram, social media? Where can they find all these tools? Jump into your course to get financially literate, and where everything, just drop it all out there.
Thank you. So you guys can find us on Neighborsgrid, Instagram, YouTube. That's where we're at. I think that's all. We tried a TikTok. It's not really working right now.
Not for me, at least. I can't do it.
So we are on TikTok, but it's a lot of like the Instagram stuff, but we're mainly pretty active on Instagram. Like DM us, talk to us. We love meeting you guys and like having conversations about money. Even if it's the little things, it's like where can I find the best credit cards, or where can I, open up a savings account? Like definitely we have all the resources. So pick our brains, whatever, we really encourage it.
Yeah. Cool. And then in our description, we have like this money reality check form where we are taking clients to see if they want to join our program. So you could go ahead and go into our description in our Instagram page, and you could click that. And if you want to fill it out, feel free to.
Cool.
And then we'll message you to see if you're our right client.
Even if you don't want to join our program, you can still fill out the money reality check. I think it's just like a really great spreadsheet and form that kind of like asks you those really hard questions about your money, and it kind of helps you understand like, oh, am I really in tune with my money, or am I not in tune with my money? So
Right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, Neighborsgrid, Anyssa, Pat, I truly thank you guys for coming on. I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah, thanks for
Yes,
having us,
thank
man.
you.
Appreciate it.